Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Morning, Abby. It's Thursday Thoughts. And so my first thought is, in fact, this. How many of you had this happening last night?
In behind Benasson fall. Benasson fall, the cross, knocked down, and in! Asphalt pull ahead! The waiting minutes!
McCormick Field, the campus of North Carolina, Asheville. Asheville City, 2-1 winners over Greenville Triumph in the Open Cup last night. And along those lines, once again, thanks to our friends at U.S. Soccer for that. Along those lines, how many of you had this happening last night?
Silvetti right on him. Watch this opportunity. Espinosa! Mule! Oh, and it's put back out, and Espinosa's going to bury it! Christian Espinosa will silence Inter Miami Stadium. Goal!
And this is March Madness. Sorry, that's another sport. Anyway, Open Cup, CONCACAF. CONCACAF went CONCACAF-y a bit last night. Open Cup went Open Cup-y last night. And to let you know, we're going to catch up with Scott Wells, the head coach of Asheville City, on tape today. Probably going to be released on social media as sound bites. It's going to be released on audio as a 1v1. We'll have it with us in case we need it tomorrow on the show. But we are stacked today. We got to get over what happened. We got to go over what happened in Champions League. Got to go over what happened in Open Cup. Got to go over what happened in CONCACAF. And that gets us to about 9:30. And at 9:30, we're talking grass. Beat 2, 3, 4, get your head out of the gutter. We're actually talking about the grass that you will see in all of the venues here in the United States for the cup that the world is chasing after coming up here in about 90 days. Dr. John Rogers is going to join us from Michigan State, and he's going to discuss integration, upkeep, all the things that you wouldn't necessarily think of when you go rolling into Atlanta Stadium, or pick your stadium, basically. And you're going to see that stuff on the ground and what it's going to take and what it is taking currently to make sure that it is going to be okay and it's not brown and that it functions and that the players can respond to it and you don't have injuries or missteps or anything like that. You know, the jigsaw puzzle's put together, that you don't have any ruts, all those things. We're going to catch up with him coming up 9:30, 9:40, whenever he can join us. And he'll wrap up hour number one to talk about all the grass that you're going to see on the ground in this tournament and what it's like to maintain it and make sure that it's going to be okay when it comes to playing on it and when we see it. So, you know, normally we'd sit there and, you know, we wander in, watch something on TV. Hey, the players are going back and forth. We're going to talk about the stuff that they're going back and forth on about 9:30 and 9:40 this morning when Dr. Rogers joins us from Michigan State. Yesterday, I was trying to reach out to him just to sit here and say, okay, hey, 9:30, 9:40. He was on a turf farm for FIFA. So we're going to find out what it's been like with that, how this relationship came to be, what it's like. Is he on call? Does he have a sat phone? Line to Gianni Infantino, all the things. Coming up bottom of the hour. 10 o'clock is the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. We'll see if and when I emailed the link to our studio space this morning, I specifically put a timestamp on it for Nino because last week, remember, we had sprung forward. He had not. And so he came in to join us at his 10 o'clock, which was 11 our time. So I basically put a timestamp in it when I was writing it So we'll see hopefully in about 50 minutes when Nino Torres joins us, and we gain 10 pounds by looking at all of his desserts, but we talk about everything going on in Portugal, everything going on in South America. Then Niko Moreno joins us. Seattle took care of business in Spokane last night late. We'll see how late it was for Niko. Then we'll get into everything that's going on in Major League Soccer, kind of start your preview of the week with him here. We are still efforting a couple of guests for tomorrow. We'll see if KCD can join us, and she is not in any kind of encased tomb in Fort Lauderdale as she gets ready to go to St. Louis. We're efforting DC United opposition research, and we're also efforting other things as well that we can just as easily get into whenever we get into them. But that's the rundown. So today it is turf, it's grass. It is grass, it is Nino, it is Niko. Scott Wells on tape from Asheville City. That's going to happen, and that'll be out this afternoon as a part of all of our programming. We don't have a high school game today, so tomorrow is our next high school game, and it's the doubleheader in Cedartown. Dalton and Cedartown, going to be from Doc Ayers. I think it's 5 and 7. We'll be out there. Jason and I will be out there, and it'll be our first trip to Cedartown. We'll catch up with them. Dalton and Cedartown, the games of the day, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente all season long. And it'll be fun to be out there in Cedartown for Dalton and Cedartown tomorrow afternoon and evening. Okay, now let's get into anything and everything that is going on around the planet. Now, since we mentioned Open Cup and we mentioned what was going on there specifically. Now, we started with Open Cup first. So yesterday, here's what happened in Open Cup. It was Chattanooga FC needing a while before they knocked off Kalanji Pro 2-1 at Fort Finley. And they now have, they meaning Kalanji, they now have the youngest ever goal scorer in the history of the Open Cup. And in that, it is the son of a head coach. It is, you ended up with Braden Kalanji, part of the Kalanjis of Kalanji Pro Profile, 14 years old, youngest scorer in Open Cup history. Chattanooga recovered with the 2-1 win, but obviously you get a lob after a missed penalty, loops back into the net, 2-1. Kalanji acquits themselves very well, but Chattanooga FC moves on. Chattanooga FC, they're keeping an eye on the schedule and trying to see what round 2 is going to look like. Asheville City, you heard the eventual game winner with their game against Greenville Triumph. So USL League 2 knocks off USL League 1. As if you follow Jarrett on social medias on the 280-character app, what do you think the folks in Statesboro were thinking about that one? Asheville City moves on. Like I said, we're going to catch up with Scott Wells on tape. That'll be out later this afternoon. Charleston survives against the Florida Badgers of the UPSL, took a 102nd minute goal, I believe, to get the win. Charleston gets the win 2-1 over the Florida Badgers. FC Naples moves on, no problem. Lou City moves on, no problem. Hartford Athletic shuts out the perennial troublemaker FC Motown. 1-0 beat Vistula. Union Omaha had no problems with BOHFS St. Louis, 8-0 at a -213. FC Tulsa doubled Little Rock Rangers 4-2. San Antonio, no problem with ASC New Stars. It took a while for New Mexico, but New Mexico knocked off Cruisers 2-2. And then you had the other games going on that were finals. Hang on, my numbers are not accurate here. So let's see here. Get into, it's like you're looking at numbers and they have the highlights favored, or the favorite highlighted, and they don't give you the final scores. So it was San Antonio 6-0 over ASC New Stars. New Mexico 3-2 over Cruisers. It took a while. Sacramento Republic over El Fadelito 2-0. We'll get into that one in a minute. Spokane Velocity took care of business against Ventura County Fusion 2-1. Orange County 3-0 over Laguna United. And then Valley 559 out of the UPSL. They knocked off AV Alta in League 1 at a +300. Quincy Amarikwa. Yes, that Quincy Amarikwa got the header and the goal for the difference. Valley 559 and Asheville City have been your two lower division clubs that have gotten their results when it comes to Open Cup. Now, we've got to get into what happened with Sacramento and El Farolito. It got bad. So this is through local reports that are going on in Northern California. And so last night, late after the second goal, and I'm going to reference their reporting in all of this. And so it was reported in one of the news outlets in Northern California after the match last night when everybody was piecing their postgame together. If you watch the match itself, and it was Watson Kerr on the call, they had the late game. Their early game was Asheville. Their late game was Sacramento and El Farolito. Mission Local, Liliana Michelena, was there, and her report after 2-0, extra time, El Farolito eventually loses. Santiago Lopez, who we've had here on the network to discuss the successes of El Farolito, quote, they came to mock us after the goal, describing the initial confrontation. Sacramento player approached the Farolito bench to taunt them after that second goal. Farolito mid Johan Yabur followed him, and then everything, according to Michelena, unraveled from there. Then, and there's video that has been posted, so I will give you, as part of required reading, the link to the article in and of itself. And you're right, Abby, I do need to have Kevin on. I agree. So 95 minutes, El Farolito was what we figured they were going to be. When we talked about it with the KCD yesterday, we knew they were going to be trouble. They're always trouble. You can never underestimate El Farolito. So Kevin Gonzalez, the 33-year-old keeper, was one of the big reasons. And so it was instances in transition going over the top long that was creating opportunities for Farolito. It wasn't a whole lot. Possession, I think, was 70-30 by the end of the night. So in the extra time, 101st minute, they had to play with 10. Keeper Sacre has scored a red on a challenge of Rohan Chivakula. Then Coach Lopez gets a yellow for protesting. Then you end up with everything going that way, a newly established rivalry according to Sacramento Republic. So, as it was reported by Michelena, Sacramento player taunted the El Farolito bench. Yabor takes exception. Several minutes, and like I said, the video is up on the U.S. Soccer YouTube channel. Like I said, and it is Watson Kerr that are on the call. So you end up with a coming together, and that's the word I'm going to use. Basically, you had a lot of folks taking, they were bowing up to each other. So one staff member from Sacramento was involved, according to Michelena. Security came in. Lopez, the head coach for El Farolito, walked away with his clothing torn. Yabor, the player for Farolito, gets a red. The game never restarted, which was probably the right call because they were in the second of 4 added minutes, and there was just folks that were there in front of the benches, and it needed to be called at that point. Then once the stuff on the field was done, it goes into the stands where Farolito families were sitting. Players, and this is where the video is shown, where you have players going into the stands at Heart Health trying to protect their families. El Farolito gets 2 reds. By the time that they were done, obviously the disciplinary committee is going to be looking at this for Open Cup because Sacramento is going to be playing in round number 2. But I think the lesson here was, once again, make sure that El Farolito is coming in, and they're coming in very seriously. So El Farolito, it was a long night for Sacramento Republic. They survived, but at what cost? We'll see what happens in round number 2. So that was Open Cup. Today, you have another 7 matches starting at 6 o'clock. Carolina Core favored at a -263 hosting Virginia Dream. Flint City at 6:30 hosting Forward Madison. Forward Madison a -115. Charlotte Independence hosting Ristosi at a -200. Ristosi is a +359. 7 o'clock, Lexington and Flower City Union. Lexington, big favorite, -769. Westchester SC hosting Central New York Renegades at a -133. Tennessee Tempo at 8 o'clock Eastern hosting Chattanooga Red Wolves. Chattanooga Red Wolves and FC lingering right around the corner. Red Wolves a -227 on the road. Laredo Heat hosting El Paso Locomotive at a plus 450. El Paso's a minus 244. So a lot of your actions early tonight. So you got early action going on in the Open Cup. Watch it on the YouTube channel. We'll get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it here at the end of the show. That's Open Cup for yesterday and today. But Valley 559, Asheville City, they're the two that got the big wins from the lower division clubs. Yesterday also, we played you the highlight that sent Inter Miami home. Well, they were already at home, but they just went to the showers. So CONCACAF Champions Cup, the Triple C yesterday, it was Nashville on the away goal, getting the win in the two legs. So they advance 1-1 against Messi and friends. Club America Philadelphia Union was a 2-1 aggregate for Club America. First leg was 1-0, 1-1 last night. So Club America moves on. Seattle moves on 2-1 on Vancouver. Once again, that one was 3-0 after the first leg, 5-1 total. And then Toluca just absolutely took charge at Estadio Nemesio Diaz. 3-2 was the margin going in. 6-3 was the margin coming out. 4-0 Toluca wins. San Diego FC acquits themselves once again very, very well in the tournament. But you find out what it's like to go into the Hornets' nests that are the Liga MX Stadia. And great showing for San Diego FC. Toluca, obviously a big favorite going in to win on the night. They finished that one 6-3, and so they advance as well. And so now, looking at the Champions Cup bracket, we still have another couple of matches to sort out here before we figure out what the quarters are going to look like. But Toluca advances. They take on the winner of Mount Pleasant and LAG. We'll have the numbers for that in a second. That's upper left. Low left, Cruz Azul and LAFC. That's going to be a fun one. That's low left. Nashville SC and Club America. That is the next round in the quarterfinals. That's upper right. And then we're waiting for the winner of Tigres and FC Cincinnati to take on Seattle. That one is low right. Now, looking at the action today, Mount Pleasant and LAG. Mount Pleasant's down 3 goals. LAG's favored to win on the night minus 227. Mount Pleasant a plus 525. Tigres on the night, they got work to do. They're the late game at 9 o'clock. They're down 3-0 at home to FC Cincinnati. Tigres on the night is a minus 222. FC Cincinnati's a plus 600. But the two MLS sides, they have their orders after the first round. Hang on. That's it. Hang on, and then LAG advances, and then FC Cincinnati would advance. But that's 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock tonight at Mount Pleasant, at Tigres for LAG and FC Cincinnati. So those are your runs for what was going on in CONCACAF yesterday. Quickly, let's get you into what happened in Champions League yesterday. And it was, we're now down to the final 8. We didn't quite have what happened involving Sporting and Bodo Glimt, but yesterday Bayern Munich beats Atalanta 4-1, 10-2 in the aggregate. Liverpool, after a bit of a slow start, ends up 4-0 yesterday over Galatasaray at Anfield, 4-1 in the aggregate. They advance. Spurs won on the day 3-2, but they were down 5-2 after the first leg, 7-5 in the aggregate. And so Atletico de Madrid moves on, and Barcelona just, Alex, thumped Newcastle, Maddie, 7-2 in the aggregate, or 7-2 yesterday, 8-3 in the aggregate. And so those were the 4 winners yesterday, 7-2. And literally first half it was humming right along, and then Barcelona just dropped the hammer. Sorry, David. So, yes, it is David, it is Alex, it is Maddie. The 3 of you, I don't even want to know what the cameras were looking like that were in your viewing area. But 7-2 Barcelona over Newcastle yesterday. So now that sets up your round of 8, and it's April 7th and 8th for the first leg. Real Madrid hosting Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich favored at the moment. Of course, we have a good 3 weeks before we figure it out for real. Sporting at home hosting Arsenal. Arsenal favored right now. Then on the 8th, it's Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid. Barcelona favored at the Camp Nou. And PSG and Liverpool. That one is PSG on the minus side at a minus 105 at the Stade de France, taking on Liverpool, who's a plus 280. So that's Champions League. Now, today we've got Europa and Conference. So Europa League, after what happened yesterday in your results, It's results, not outrights, John. Hit the right button. So yesterday you had the one Europa League result, and it was Braga 4-0 over Ferencváros. And so they advance 4-2 in the aggregate. Ferencváros had the 2-0 lead. Braga scored 4, and it's now Braga moving on. Today, 4 o'clock, actually 1:45, you've got 3. And then at 4 o'clock, you've got 4. Nottingham Forest favored at Midtjylland on the day. Midtjylland leads 1-0 heading into the second leg. Midtjylland, by the way, at home is a plus 210. Lyon and Celta de Vigo 1-1 after the first leg. Second leg, Lyon is a plus 110 favored. Celta de Vigo a plus 260. Freiburg and Genk. Genk leads 1-0 heading to Freiburg. Freiburg is favored on the day at a minus 167. Genk a plus 450. 4 matches at 4 o'clock. Porto leads Stuttgart 2-1. They are a favorite at home at a plus 150. Stuttgart a plus 179. Real Betis and Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos carries a 1-0 lead to Real Betis. They are a dog of dogs on the day at a plus 750. Betis a minus 238. Villa and Lille. Villa leads Lille 1-0. Favorite at home at a minus 152. And Lille's a plus 4.25. Bologna and Roma tied after the first leg. Roma favored on the day at a minus 141. Bologna is a plus 400. Now, getting into Conference League. All 8 matches are today. 4 of them at 145. 145. The others at 4. AEK favored at home big. They have a 4-0 lead on Celje. AEK Larnaca is a dog at home. Crystal Palace, goalless draw after the first leg. They are minus 175 on the road. Keep an eye on that one in Cyprus. Mainz, goalless draw with Sigma Olomouc last time out. They're favored at home at a minus 303. Rakov Shestakova, favored at home, playing at ArcelorMittal Park because of size and capacity. They're a plus 140 on the day. They're down 2-1 heading into the second leg against Fiorentina, 4 o'clock. Rayo Vallecano favored on the day at a minus 161, and they had 3-1 on Samsunspor after match 1. Shakhtar at the Centerise Arena is a 3-1 lead after the first leg, favored into the second leg against Lech Poznan at a plus 110. Poznan's a plus 2.25. Sparta Prague down 2-1 to AZ Alkmaar, favored at home on the day at a plus 129. AZ Alkmaar is a plus 190. Strasbourg and Rijeka. Strasbourg favored at home on the day at a minus 250. They're up 2-1 heading into the second leg. Rijeka is a plus 700. So a lot of home favorites on the day. A couple of margins that would need to be overseen, but this will get you to the round of 8 after today. And then first thing Friday morning, we'll know the draw and the times for Europa and conference and everything else going forward. So that is the quick and abbreviated rundown of anything and everything going on in Europe when it comes to tournament play. So we've covered Conference League, we've covered Europa League, we've covered CONCACAF, we've covered Open Cup. Take your breath. That's a lot to get into in a very short period of time. Like I said, we've got the tour of the planet coming up, whatever's on the mind of Nino and Nico and Major League Soccer as we start our getting ready for all of that. That's going to happen in hour number 2. And I can't wait to see where Dr. Rogers is. Is he in his office in East Lansing? Is he on a turf farm? I can't wait. I can't wait for this because I'm intrigued specifically on the notion of, okay, we've got all these different stadia and all these different surfaces, but where, how do you handle each one individually? Because I would imagine you have to treat each child differently. We need to find out the grasses. We need to find out maintenance. We need to find out the lighting and all of these things to make sure that everything is in sync for everything when it comes to all the stuff that we're going to be watching happening in front of us in June and July. So I'm looking forward to this one. Dr. John Rogers III, Trey, coming up around the corner from Michigan State to talk about everything going on on the turf of everything for the World Cup. But yeah, Lionel Messi gets 900 goals on his career. And that was when you look at what all of the promise was by Messi and friends this year. We're in it to win titles. We're in it to win this. We're in it to win this. But you get bounced out of the hemispheric tournament, which means you're not going to get in. You're not going to win there. You're not going to get into the Club World Cup. And it's going to be, that kind of a trickle down going forward. So what happens this time next year? You're going to get back in, obviously, into the Triple C, but that means you got to work that much harder. So it will be intriguing, to say the very least, what happens there when it comes to anything and everything going on in CONCACAF. Checking just, with stories and sources and everything. Actually, tell you what, let's do this. Since we talked about all of the tournaments and stuff, let's do where to watch, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You want to start your day the right way. What you do is you start it with our friends at Fanatis. You can add to the streaming services that you have, and you can catch anything and everything going on BN. You get all the BNs, which means you get AFCON, you get the Polish League, the Turkish League, the French League, you get the French tournaments, you get all of the tournaments in those countries, you get South America, you get access to Tigo Sports, you get access to CATV, you get access to a lot of the A and B divisions in South America. You get TSA out of Argentina, so you get to learn about what's going on there. You get TVV if you want to add Venezuela to your package. But if you have a certain cable system and you have the Spanish-speaking package, you get TVV as a part of it. Just have to know where to look. But you can get all that at Fanatis at fntz.co/, I'm left-handed, soccer down here. Now, Thursday, CBS Sports Network has Europa League at 1:45, Midtjylland and Nottingham Forest. FS1 has your doubleheader in the Triple C and CONCACAF, the Hemispheric Extravaganza at 7 and 9. 2 to NA, Midtjylland, and then Roma and Bologna is at 4. They're simulcasting CONCACAF. Unimas at 4 has Roma and Bologna. Fox ONE has your CONCACAF. MLSNextPro.com on YouTube and OneFootball has NYCFC 2 and Toronto FC 2 at 7 o'clock. Paramount Plus has access to all of the 15 matchups in Europa League and Conference League that are there. YouTube, U.S. Soccer YouTube channel has your 7 matchups, 1 at 6, 2 at 6:30, 1 at 7, 1 at 7:30, 1 at 8, and 1 at 8:30. Women's side, CONCACAF's U17 Championship continues on Fox Soccer Plus. Nicaragua, El Salvador is at noon. Panama, Mexico is at 2:30. Haiti and the United States is at 5. The U.S. put 19 on the board the first time out in the U17s. FS2 is showing Dominican Republic and Canada at noon as a part of their day. Fox ONE has the 2 matches at noon, the one at 2:30 and the one at 5. And that's all the stuff that's on. That's a lot of stuff. But once again, you can get that at Fanatis. Maybe if you are looking for other tournaments in other countries and things like that, watch what's going on in South America. I blame Jason for getting me hooked on Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. And so that's how you end up with anything and everything that you haven't watched, that you don't have at the moment. And there you go. So, all right. So Abby puts in news from Centennial Olympic Park. Kike Lopez, once again, becoming a hub for anything and everything. 4 themed zones. Less than 100 days out. Main stage, playground, pitch, and Georgia Street. Main stage is going to have a 40-foot video screen, 16 days worth of operating. It is going to be free with registration, running through the semifinal on July 15th. March 26th, the reservation portal opens. First come, first served, subject to capacity. And SCAD is going to be a part of something referring to the last mile experience. Beyond the park, you get SCAD, an initiative using unique art installations and wayfinding systems to help fans navigate the journey between Fan Festival, MARTA, and the stadium, Atlanta Stadium, to ensure, according to Kike, the vibe stays high even when you're on the move. So the last mile, hopefully, will direct you anywhere and everywhere from all points in between. So it is 16 days. So the end of June, before the first hosted match and going through the semifinal on July 15th, your 4 themed zones starting June the 12th. And Centennial Olympic Park turns into the Global Village. So the Olympic Park set to become the global soccer hub for the World Cup in 2026. Okay, I heard the magic tones in my ear, which means one thing. It is after 9:35, and Trey Rogers. Now, okay, so Trey is not outdoors. He is indoors. That's the first thing that we needed to figure out. So Trey is indoors, and for this, we go to East Lansing, Michigan, and find out anything and everything we need to know about what is keeping him very, very busy. Dr. Rogers, thanks for stopping by this morning.
Hi, John. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
All
I talked to you yesterday. I was in New Jersey at a sod farm, Tuckahoe, that is actually growing the grass for 3 sites: Boston, which we put in about 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
New York, and Philadelphia. So that's how come I got all confused. Monday, I was in the state of Washington, looking at a sod farm that has the grass for Seattle and Los Angeles. So it's world travel right now.
Hey, as long look at either 53 cents a mile, or if you're getting the frequent flyers and all the hotel points, it's got miles and points, Doc. That's all good.
Sure, I got a lot right now.
Hey, that's fantastic. I wanted to ask a couple of different ideas here, and you mentioned
Sure.
all the miles that you're putting in, whether it's New Jersey or Washington State or what have you. How many different venues venue grasses are you overseeing right now? Is it all 16? How many of them are you physically keeping an eye on before as they're getting installed?
I would say between myself and the University of Tennessee, my colleague John Sorokin, we're at all the sod farms, and so we're looking at all 16. Now there are a few that are already in.
Right.
So, Mexico's or Guadalajara and Monterrey are already in because they've got to play, those play-in games at the end of March, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mexico City, we actually seeded because we changed completely their grass type, and it was probably best that we went ahead and seeded their grass, and it's the same species as we're using in Boston or any place where we'd be using cool season grasses. That's an interesting story in itself, but no, we're seeing all of them. We're seeing all of them. We're looking at all of them right now because most of them start getting installed in about now. San Francisco's just went in, and the thing, John, that probably most people don't get a good feel for. Yes, this is 3 countries. Yes, it's 16 sites. But unlike the last 2 World Cups, this is my opinion, but unlike the last 2 World Cups where they were basically in places where one person kind of called the shots, that's not the way it is in these countries, right? There's 16 kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And so each one of these people, as long as they meet the regulations that FIFA wants them to do, then how they get to the Rome is kind of up to them. And, you got Houston, for example, that they want to put theirs in at the last minute because the rodeo dominates.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Okay.
So and Dallas has said, no, we'll give you the field fairly early. They're building their field right now and have been for the last 2 weeks. So every stadium, every city gets to call that shot, until they get to X day,
Mm-hmm.
what they call the exclusive use period, then FIFA takes over the building.
How many different grasses are we talking about here for each of these different venues? Because I would imagine that in its own subset is its own set of issues that you and the folks at the University of Tennessee have to juggle and figure out, okay, this works here, or is there uniformity when it comes to all this stuff?
No, it's two basic grasses. There's a warm season grass, which is Bermuda grass,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we play on, in places like Miami and certainly in Monterey. And then we have a cool season grass, which is a combination of Kentucky bluegrass and perennial ryegrass. And then sometimes it could be Kentucky bluegrass by itself. And these are going in 11 of the 16 stadiums, and most importantly, all 5 dome stadiums.
Okay.
So all 5 dome stadiums will have the exact same grass.
When you are trying to go indoors versus outdoors, I mean, obviously, I've been inside Mercedes-Benz. Atlanta United is playing on it right now for their Major League Soccer season, so they can get adjusted to it, so they can still have their schedule and still be ready for the World Cup at the same time. I'm seeing the pink UV coat hangers. They're there, to make sure that everything.
Lighting, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to navigating indoors versus outdoors and Kentucky bluegrass outdoors with the rye mix and how different is maintenance indoors and outdoors when it comes to the same grass types?
From that standpoint, we're trying to make the maintenance fairly similar.
Okay.
And that's what allows us to have what we feel like will be a uniform system. So if we didn't have those grow lights, if we weren't able to pinpoint how much light we needed to put on that plant every day to make it react as though it was outside, then we'd be talking about a different story. We'd be talking about potentially resodding in the middle of the tournament. But we don't have any intention of doing that because of the light. The light is going to basically give us the plant the energy that it needs to recuperate and last during that season. So this has been a huge investment by FIFA to allow us to hone down on things that we knew quite a bit about, but we didn't know everything. And we needed some money in order to study that. And that's what the big investment was at the University of Tennessee and Michigan State University. We're thrilled. We're thrilled to be a part of it.
What have you learned about navigating this process and making sure that the grasses respond the way that they're supposed to, and that you're being proactive as opposed to reactive when it comes to possible issues that come up or maintenance or successes? How much are you learning in this process?
Oh, I've learned a lot. I mean, from my standpoint, I'm a huge turf grass guy.
Mm-hmm.
I would not call myself a huge soccer guy.
Right.
All right. So even though I did one of these, obviously back in 1994 for the World Cup, Pontiac Silver Dome. So, this is my second go around with them on this. But what I've learned is how much effort goes in by these field managers to keep the surface clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned what we call that hygiene, meaning they want to pick up the clippings. They want to, you would almost like it when you can look down as a soccer player and not see anything but the brown soil in between the grass blades.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is that allows that grass plant to recover and have room to recover. Okay, so this is something that, yes, we've known about, and now we've really quantified it. And yes, this will be a big key in making us have a successful tournament. That and quantifying exactly how much light needs to go on a daily basis. And that's work that the University of Tennessee has really taken off with. We did a lot of the hygiene work. They've done a lot of the lighting work. And it's been a great team effort.
You don't normally see schools in the Big Ten and the SEC agreeing on things, especially on Saturday afternoons in the fall. I mean, how regular are the conversations that you have with the folks in Knoxville? Is it daily? Is it virtual? What are the conversations like?
It could be every day. It could be every hour.
Wow.
First of all, their head guy, John Sorokin, when we did the project in 1994, he was an undergrad on my team. He went ahead and got his master's and PhD with me, and then took off down at the University of Tennessee and just built a world-class program. It was him who had the relationship with Alan Ferguson, and that's when they started the conversation, brought me in after that. And that, because it's an enormous project that I don't think one entity could actually handle just because of the cool and the warm season and everything that goes on.
And this is, I guess this is going to be soccer grass for one. This is soccer grass 101 for me and for our audience when it comes for this education. When it comes to navigating these grasses and everything, how let me go back to actually the UV lighting and the maintenance.
Right.
So when it comes to learning about how much light it needs indoors versus outdoors and how grasses respond and all this kind of stuff, how much learning was going on? Do you under assume so you have room to grow, or do you go over the top in your assumptions and then work your way backward to come up with that level and the numbers and the all the information that you need? Do you undersell and go up, or do you oversell and try to come back to what the mean is supposed to be when it comes to maintenance?
I think you do both.
Okay.
I think you do both. I mean, For example, if we were, when we designed a study not too long ago, we said, well, let's have no light, and then let's have to where we could put on the correct amount of light on a daily basis, and then 2 intervals in between that, so that we can potentially draw a line. So I think that's the only way we study things. We long time ago we said, if we're not killing grass, we're not doing our job in an experiment. So that part has been very clear from the start, and we're not starting from zero.
Right.
This light work has been around for a while. Okay, this is not, but where we got we just got the funding to be able to do the work quickly and efficiently, and that was really key.
And how much empirical evidence did you bring to the table? How much, I guess, foreknowledge did you bring to the table when it came to these discussions about, okay, we've done this, and this. Here's our evidence. Here's what we think is going to happen. How big a dossier are we talking? Are we talking War and Peace when you came to the table to sit there and go, here's our evidence, and here's why we think that this will work here and this will work here?
I think FIFA wanted everything based on, that they're very evidence-based research. So we went back to, square one in a lot of these areas. And, but at the same time, we had a lot of contacts, right? We this is something we've been doing. I've been doing this for 38 years and John's 25. So, we knew where we wanted to go, who we wanted to talk to, who had the information that was going to get us where we wanted to go. And, part of our job has been to, basically guide FIFA as their kind of guest in this country. Really, you think about it.
Yeah.
It's our turf industry. We had to introduce them to our turf industry and show them that this group was ready to take this on. And what we haven't really talked about yet is the tremendous effort that's going to be taking place by the sod farms. Because this group is what's going to basically be transporting all this sod over this short period of time in refrigerated trucks to areas that have to be put down and literally ready to have a World Cup soccer game on within a couple of weeks. And so you can't do that with what's conventional sod that we might sod your front yard with, right?
No.
We have to do this with the product that we call sod grown on plastic. Okay, so it's all grown on a plastic sheet. And, you can take your soil, which is about 2 inches, and then you establish your grass in that soil. But once the roots start growing, they hit that plastic and they stop. It's a little bit like a root-bound pot, right? The pot that you pull out of a plant that you pull out of a pot. And those roots have now grown down to the plastic and basically formed almost like a box.
Okay.
And so we pick the box, we pick that sod up off that plastic. Plastic stays at the sod farm, roll it up in big rolls, take it. But because we've been able to prepare it so perfectly at these sod farms, it's ready to play, and it goes under no physiological shock because we don't cut the roots at all. And the roots dive down immediately into the sand that we have at these stadiums, and we're ready to go in a very short period of time. Again, I would not call this a new thing.
Right.
I have not watched the National Football League Super Bowl in 15 years. It wasn't sod on plastic, but we were again given some research dollars to where we could carry this even further and further. So been very impressive.
How many, the logistics in this sound both three-dimensional and immense to get stuff from the sod farm to the stadium itself. I would imagine you mentioned how things are somewhat geographic in nature, where the ones in the Northeast cater to the Northeast. The ones that are further away have to go a little further in distance. The logistics in this sounds bordering on the insane to make sure that A, the turf gets to where it's supposed to go, B, that the turf gets where it's supposed to go and is as pristine as it was when you packed it, and C, that if there are any issues, that everybody's got to be ready on a moment's notice at 3 o'clock in the morning. If your phone's buzzing, hey, something's wrong in Foxborough and we got a boogie, that you got to get everything done. Do we, the common folks that just watch stuff on grass, have any idea about the logistics that's engaged when it comes to getting stuff from the sod farm up into the truck and from the truck to the stadium. Do we have any idea about how logistical crazy this is?
No, this is not a group that brags to you. It's like when you walk into your grocery store and you see a big rack of raspberries, you just buy them, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you buy, and it looks good, and you buy it. And if it doesn't look good, that's when it gets your attention. Because when it looks good, you've been used to it looking good all this time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good these guys are. And that's one of the things that we were able to sell FIFA on. You've got this big operation. You want to go in 5 dome stadiums. You want to go in 3 other stadiums that don't ever have grass in it. And you want to do it in a very short window. We've got the solution. It's our sod farms. It's sod on plastic. Yes, we've got a few things that we have to answer, but this group will answer the bell. Yeah, we've got some logistic issues. I mean, one of the best sod farms for us is in Denver, Colorado. They grow the cool season grass that we need. And so during the month of May, they'll be trucking it to Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, and Dallas, Texas. And so, yes, that's a long ways. And Washington will ship their sod all the way. One of them will be very short to Seattle, but the other one will be all the way down to Los Angeles. But that's these refrigerated trucks. And we won't be doing anything that A, hasn't been done before, and B, that we didn't test last year for the Club World Cup. It's been a long project coming. Yes, sir.
When it comes to how grass behaves, so if 11 of the 16 are cool grass, but you're dealing with indoors and outdoors, how different, and I guess this is where the natural lighting comes in versus the artificial lighting, how different do you have to massage the indoor and the outdoor of either just Kentucky bluegrass / rye or Kentucky bluegrass, indoors, outdoors, natural and artificial lighting? That seems like a bunch of variables to folks like me.
Well, it is 2 things to remember. Number one, the supplemental lights really help us.
Okay.
Because they really mimic the sunlight that we're looking for. And the second thing is this has an end point to it.
Right.
Where nobody asked us to do it for 2 years. Nobody asked us for be at 365 days. This has to be in 50 days for 6 games. Okay, so not that it couldn't be in longer, but we don't have it's not like it's something that we're going to be doing 2,000 push-ups a day for the next 10 years.
I don't want to know about the lactic acidosis with doing 2,000 push-ups a day for the next 10 years. I don't want to know about
putting
that.
a lot of pressure on a lot of people, but it's not a sustainable model. Obviously, it's a tournament.
Right. Trey Rogers, Dr. Trey Rogers, hanging out with us from East Lansing and Michigan State as they're getting all the sod ready for all the different venues here in this hemisphere, getting ready for the World Cup. How many people are we talking about here on the whole project, both with Knoxville and with Michigan State? You might just know the Michigan State numbers, but how many folks are engaged in this whole process to make sure that everything gets to where it's supposed to be and it's monitored and all that stuff?
Well, as far as the research goes, I think Tennessee probably is in that neighborhood of about 12. We're at about 9. And, people that have been basically dedicating themselves. And some of them have left us, like Tennessee had a kid and I had a kid that we both sent to work for FIFA last January because FIFA needed people and they were through with their graduate studies and this was their dream to go to work for FIFA. So why not let them have their dream, right? So off they go. And so we've had some changes, but it's been a phenomenal experience. We got a chance to take the students over to graduate students over to London and have them give talks at an international conference. So it's been very well supported, and they've gotten to know the ins and outs of how these tournaments work. They'll never forget it. I know that John never forgot his experience in the '94 World Cup, and look where it took him after that. So it's been impressive.
How different is it? And it might be night and day. It might be 180 degrees, but how different is it in preparing for this one versus how you prepared everything at the Pontiac Silverdome and everything for '94? How different are we talking in experience here?
Well, we did everything in '94. We built the field ourselves. And so Tennessee and Michigan State, we're not building any fields. There are people that are actually going out and doing that. But this was so new and so unique that we kind of did everything ourselves in '94 and did all the management and kind of lived there. So that was one thing. The other thing is FIFA didn't quite have the the regulations and the requirements that they do today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nowhere close. They didn't have a light. No, well, lights didn't exist, so they couldn't have a light requirement. Stitching didn't exist, so they couldn't have that. Vacuum ventilation didn't exist, so they couldn't have that. So, lots of technologies have come on since then, and that they can dictate to each stadium, thou shalt have this in your stadium.
The 10 Commandments of FIFA.
How you procure it is up to you.
The 10 Commandments of FIFA grass. I love this.
Week 6, I would tell you.
If there was one overarching message for the soccer fan that you would like to put out into the soccer environment for this tournament, with all the work that you and the folks at the University of Tennessee are doing, what is the one overarching message or appreciation or just, grass 101 piece of knowledge that you'd like to have soccer fans carry with them as they go and see this tournament and come out the other side?
To me, that's simple. To me, that is simple. The overarching number one thing is the heroes of this World Cup are the sod farms. And the turf, how well that turf will be prepared and how ready it is to go, literally play ready when it goes in within hours, if necessary. That's the heroes of this bunch.
How much sleep are you getting?
Straight through, not much right now. Straight through, not much. I have learned to sleep on airplanes very, very well. So.
And I imagine that between the end of the tournament and the beginning of the American football season, are you going to go to a beach somewhere and just put your feet up?
I'm going to take a long vacation.
Dr. Rogers, this has been fun. I'm going to try and catch up with your understudy, your number 2, the compadre down there.
Oh yeah, no question. Nobody's better than John. So go get him.
I will catch up with John, and I can't thank you enough for dropping in. Got you out before your 10 o'clock appointment. Go get some brunch, and we'll be keeping an eye on all that green stuff that you and your staff are keeping an eye on for us to make sure that the World Cup goes off as it is. I can't thank you for your time, sir, enough. This was fantastic. It was a great learning lesson for us. Thanks for dropping by the morning show.
Anytime. Thank you.
There goes Dr. Trey Rogers. So there's your grass education, grass 101. For all that green stuff that we go and we see, that hopefully got you in the doors to what Michigan State is getting into when it comes to anything and everything there with FIFA. So he has given us that door, and I don't know if he's going to catch up with Dr. Sirotkin at Tennessee, but since he said that they're like the hygiene part and that Tennessee is the quantifying part, I may use that information to try to talk to Dr. Sirotkin and find out what's going on in Knoxville and see how the difference is with what because, I mean, literally, we walk in the door and we see green stuff. But the whole idea of, okay, the green stuff is here. And for those of us that get to go in the building on non-play days, and you see these coat hangers that have the UV lights, and they're probably 7 feet off the ground. How did they come up with that height, that wattage, that length of time? And that was why I wanted to ask the question about, okay, do you undersell and work your way up, or do you oversell your thought and then dial it back? How much of it is a 50-50 proposition when it comes to, okay, we're not putting enough on, we need to jack up our voltage, and okay, we put on too much, we need to dial it back. How much trial and error has gone on here? That was what that's why I wanted to ask Dr. Rogers about that. He mentioned the stitching, because there have been tournaments where you sit there and you roll out the grass and you see big chunks in the in-betweens and the ruts that come in where the seams aren't sewn well enough. And there have been plenty of tournaments where you've had artificial grass pop in and you've had the seams and you see ruts and all this kind of stuff. So literally, it is the stuff that they're running on that you want them to do as fast as possible, look as natural as possible, And the fact that they're doing it on plastic, and the second it hits the plastic, that's when they roll it up, put it in the trucks, and move it. And that's why I figured every stadium was different. Every surface was different. And he mentioned that 3 are going from no grass, period. One of those, I would imagine, you'll see Jerry World. It's probably Jerry World, Houston, and Atlanta, going from no grass to grass. But Atlanta has the history of it. Houston has history of it. Dallas has history of it. So at least there's that knowledge base there of, okay, here's what we've got to do. And we stitch it together and we bring in the grass and we know what it looks like. So to be able to talk to Dr. Rogers as a part of this and get his perspective, and now we're going to go to Knoxville, and I'm going to knock on Dr. Sirotkin's door and find out what his mornings are like. So we have at least an appreciation, or at least an understanding about how green is green, how you keep it from going brown, how it responds the way it's supposed to respond, how the bounces are true, how much you water, all those kinds of things. All these different variables that we don't get. Like I said, as far as the UV coat hangers, that's in those long strands of UV lights, that's what we've seen inside Mercedes-Benz. Pink light, 7 feet off the ground and down in various stages of approach, whether it's 100% straight down and then it diffuses as it goes out and out and out. So that's half the story. I guess this behooves us now to go get the other half of the story from the SEC. And so I can't thank Dr. Rogers enough. And I hope, Nick's, I will ask Jason. Nick's comment, I will ask Jason. Nick's is asking if the players have commented on playing on grass in the first 2 games in the Bend. Jason and Maddie have been the ones that have been up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And I will ask Jason if the players have been asked. If not, maybe we should ask them and find out what they think. So, and there's also the possibility of, and she believes that is absolutely true. Yeah, Abby. Yeah. And so you had Club World Cup I think what you had is you had Club World Cup learn from She Believes, and now you're going to have World Cup learn from Club World Cup, as Dr. Rogers had mentioned. So that was kind of, what we're staring at when it comes to what you're thinking about it with grass. And so literally that was why when Michigan State came to the table and they were like, okay, hey, would you like to talk to him? I'm like, yeah, because there's a lot we don't know. I think a lot of times we just wander into a venue and we sit there and we go, okay, this used to be turf and now it's grass, and bang, magic happens. And so I kind of wanted to get into the culture behind the horticulture and find out what Dr. Rogers had to say. And like I said, we've gotten the hygiene part from him. So we'll get the quantifying part from Knoxville and find out his staff of 9 going around the world, going from one end of the U.S. to the other, trying to figure this stuff out. That to me is crazy, that it's a staff of 9 and that Dr. Rogers has learned to sleep on planes. It's one place I can sleep. Everybody is like, I can't sleep on a plane. I can sleep on a plane. I can go to sleep on a plane and be out. Literally, it'd be like bang, pre-flight instructions, bang. That's how it is with me. It is after 10 o'clock, and that means one thing. We go from East Lansing, Michigan to Lima, Peru. And we get to catch up with our buddy Nino Torres, who has not sprung forward yet. Yellow. What is up, my brother?
Yellow, Soccer Down here, fans. It is Nino Torres here with you today in this massive Thursday. We're absolutely loaded, man. We are absolutely loaded, and it's a wild Thursday, man. As wild as the African Cup situation.
Yes, we did discuss that briefly, and we did have the 6-minute soundbite from Dr. Patrice Motsepe, but we didn't want to run the full 6 minutes. We have topics. We got a lot of trouble to get into, and since you mentioned, I'm gonna skip ahead, and we talked about. I'm going to go to topic 4, which is your AFCON topic. I'm going to go here first, considering that you kind of mentioned it a little bit when we kind of got into it here. But Dr. Motsepe came out with an official statement yesterday and was trying to explain why they did what they did, meaning CAF. So headline number 4, The incredible story of the African Cup, Morocco, the new champions, because of what? And literally, we went into the laws of the game, and we looked at 5.2. We looked at Law 5.2 yesterday, and then trying to balance that with CAF 82 and 84. This is, I mean, what you have done is you have put a massive asterisk on this championship, and for the tournament, for what it was a tournament, and you had great Cinderella stories and everything, but you have now taken that stamp and you've just gone and put a big asterisk on it by flipping it the way that you did, and you waited 2 months to do it. That's the other part of this. If you had a beef, do it immediately. Here's what I said yesterday. I said, go, after it's all over, everybody's mad in a hornet's nest. Do the walk in front of the CAF hotel where everybody's got the fancy rooms. You put all of the cameramen and the TV lights. You sit there and you see everybody doing the walk into the lobby of the hotel, going to their conference room and having their meeting. You do that the night of at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, we're going to have an all-night session and figure this out. No, we're going to wait 60 days. What are you doing here? Proceed, sir. I got fired up.
And with all, I mean, I love what my African friends got. My friends from Ghana, I got my friends from Senegal, from Eritrea. But you guys, your conference is probably the number one when it comes to be dirty. All right, when it comes to corruption, when it comes to all the kind of things that we don't want to talk when we talk about soccer, but it's the truth. It's the truth, and all because of the people who runs the show in lots of countries in Africa. They're just dirty, man. They're just so corrupt that's the first word that comes to my mind right now. When it comes to this, this is a corruption, and now what are their interests in here? Who pay who? I mean, I'm not accusing anybody, right? But it's many presidents, not one, not two, no. There's like 15 presidents in Africa when it comes to corruption, when it comes to take decisions, when it comes to the situations with the referees. That you see teams beating 32-0 in a championship. There were way too many aspects and way too many data that backs up the statement that this is a corruption case, and this is we're gonna find out eventually in 56. This is going to come out this story. Hey, you know what happened in the African Cup in 2026? Well, this happened right here. This guy paid this guy, and this is what happened because this guy didn't like the other guy that was in war who with the other guy. That's the story that we don't know yet. It's going to come up. Not today, not the next week, probably in 5-10 years. Okay? But that's what's going to happen. We're going to know the truth when by the time when we know the truth. It won't matter. It won't matter. But in the meantime, Senegal, like, okay, you took it away from us. We're going to the task. All right, we're going to Switzerland, and we'll see you there. All right, we're gonna meet my lawyers there, and we're gonna present the case because they have a strong case. They have a strong case. Okay, so again, and now this is crazy, right? Because it's I'm on the topics that I sent you. There's this is connected to one of the topics that we're going to talk about today. About complain on trying to get things dirty outside of the pitch, right? If I can send my lawyer to do this to you, if I can send a document that can do this to you, that can hurt you, we'll do it. I'm going to get into a fight between your lawyers, my lawyers, and the conference lawyers. That's what we're gonna do. It's related. Some of the topics in there, so it's wild, John. It's wild.
Okay, so then is it topic number one that you have? Is that the one that's related?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going from topic 4. See, there he goes. Coca-Cola, man's there, but it's got to be in a glass. It's got to be in a glass. It's got to be in a bottle, man. Plastic just doesn't taste the same. Okay, topic number 1. Universitario.
It is a bottle.
It's got to be.
University.
Oh, it is a bottle. Okay, cool. Just checking. Because plastic, plastic, it doesn't taste the same. Topic number 1 he has on his list. Universitario, racism, Alianza Lima, legal battles, and Liga 1 chaos. So I would just ask, once again, I know that you're going to bring facts to the table, and I know that you're going to bring opinions. Just once again, just facts to the table, and I know that there's probably going to be a little anger attached to it. So just proceed, sir, with topic number 1.
I'm listening to you.
I got you. You're fine. I got you. Yep. Topic 1 is where we are next. So, tell you what. Dump out and come back in. Let's do this. So let's have you come out and come back in, because if you can't hear me, let's do this. So let's do that. And so we'll bring him back in, because I felt that wobble. I saw it on camera. And so topic number 1, Universitario, racism, Alianza Lima, legal battles, and Liga 1 chaos. And so this is where he's going to be coming in and talking about everything in Peru that is tied along the same topic that we had with the African Cup and Morocco. And yeah, that got me fired up yesterday. So we'll see what happens with, I don't know what's going on in Peru, but that is why when Nino comes to the table, he brings this stuff out of South America, where he's plugged in and has all of his answers and all of his stuff that he brings in every single Thursday. So he has going on his what was going on there. So hopefully he can dial back in and we can let everybody know what's going on. So let me go with a couple of quick things here when it comes to breaking news in NWSL. Houston's acquired $800,000 in intraleague transfer funds, $200,000 in expansion allocation funds from Denver in exchange for Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan, and $150,000 in allocation funds, $100,000 in conditional transfer funds that could raise the total to $1.1 million in funds for the Dash. Transaction also includes conditional sell-on fee tied to future player movement. Okay, now let's bring Nino back in. All right, got you, brother. So, all right, so go to topic number 1. I told everybody what topic number 1 was, so hit me.
All right, guys. You can hear me okay? We're good now, right?
You got it. Hit me.
All right. So this is the situation what happened, right? Universidad Deportes played UTC Cajamarca, and there was a late penalty. And but first off, I gotta mention this, that the goalie of UTC Cajamarca is a former Alianza Lima player and an LA fan who already provoked the Deportes many times every time that he went to the stadium, right? Let's put that in context first, all right?
All right.
So then it was a late penalty, and they were behind the fans behind the goal were chanting Tunche, 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 which is the player who created the penalty, who forced the penalty inside the box.
Okay.
But apparently, this is how the events went. Angelo Campos, the goalie, talks to the referee and mentions that it was a racism, that he heard something racist.
Okay, then you do that.
I'm like, all right. So the guy, they activated the good, right? The signal racism fact and everything. All right, game over, penalty, la la la. Okay. There was an investigation. There's a video from the fans that were behind the goal that clearly you can hear clearly Tunche, which is the nickname of Universitarios player. Right. And you cannot hear anything, any racist phrase or saying or nothing. The only thing that you can hear is Tunche and you, which is Universitario. When you say I don't know, whatever. So there's nothing racist in there. Okay. But apparently the goalie Campos, I don't know, out of the blue, he heard something racist, and then the whole thing created. Now it goes to the disciplinary commission of the Liga Uno, because the referee has to send the report and all that, right? So they were evaluating the situation, whether first you got to confirm that there was a racism act in there.
Right.
Can confirm there's nothing, there's no way to confirm that. And Universal presented all the videos, because they only got one camera. You got like, I mean, how many, like every single fan that could help, they send them the videos. They said, hey, this is the audio, this is what we said, this is everybody cooperating, right? We did not say anything racist in here. And you got like at least, Universal has at least 10 video footage with the audio that where you cannot hear anything racist, okay? But what happened? Alianza Lima, who's not playing, Alianza Lima doesn't have, they were not playing in this game, right? They presented a document, all right? They presented a proposal to close the stadium because of racism.
Oh boy.
All right.
Okay.
It cannot be tolerated. And all the legal representative of Alianza, the president of Alianza Lima, I don't know, there are like 3 more people from Alianza Lima on all the media, all the outlets talking about this, the racism, this and that. The stadium should be closed. The stadium shouldn't be banned. They should be penalized for at least 4 or 5 rounds, or they have to play in an empty stadium. You know who Universitario Portugal plays in a couple of rounds?
Okay.
You know who they're playing against at the Monumental?
I got a guess. Go ahead and hit me.
Alianza Lima.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would I be so passionate about this anti-racism within the next 2 rounds? I'm going to play this club at their stadium, and I want them to play in an empty stadium because of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the case. Yeah, it is. And this is, again, Alianza already got one done, right? Because they complained about a situation that happened with Universitario in a game that Alianza Lima was not playing. It was playing Universitario versus Cristal. And they sent the document, they sent the protest saying, no, why this is not allowed, why this, and that. So they penalized 2 players from Universitario and the coach, suspended for the next 4 rounds. And Jairo Concha suspended for 2 rounds because of the protest of Alianza Lima. Okay, so that's how it's going. Yeah, John, it's a dirty war, and Universitario Portuguese. All right, so you want to play dirty? We will play dirty. So they're gonna, from now on, the president said, from now on, every single game that Alianza Lima is playing is going to be scrutinized by us, and if we find something, we better watch out.
The draw for the Copa Libertadores is set for tonight, 8 o'clock. Draw for pots is tonight.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
We every year we pray that please don't get us Palmeiras, Flamengo, River Plate, all of them in the same group for us. But for the first time in many years, that could be the case, that we don't have to play the top dogs in the group stage, because we are in pot. When you start Portugal is in pot 2, Cristal is in pot 3. No, I'm sorry, Cusco in pot 3, and Cristal in pot 4. So the possibility that we can have 2 Peruvian teams in the same group for the group stage So that's something right there. And then if we can avoid Palmeiras, we can avoid Flamengo. That's great too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes tonight. But there's high expectations on the Peruvian side for this Copa Libertadores, and hopefully we can make finally a deep run. I don't know how deep we can go, but
Here are the pots. Flamengo is in. It's basically they're ahead of the top of pot one. Palmeiras, Boca Juniors, Peñarol, Nacional, Liga de Quito, Fluminense, and Independiente del Valle. That's pot one. Universitarios in pot two with Lanús, Libertad, Estudiantes, Cerro Porteño, Corinthians, Bolivar, and Cruzeiro. Pot three, Junior, Universidad Católica, Rosario Central, Santa Fe, always ready. I love that name. Coquimbo Unido, Deportivo La Guaira, and Cusco. And in pot four, it's Universidad Central, Platense, Independiente Rivadavia, Mirasol, Independiente Medellin, Deportes Tolima, Sporting Cristal, and Barcelona. How did I do?
We'll see, man. We'll see, Johnny, how we're doing. Hopefully we get a decent group, man. Hopefully we get a decent group, and fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. I was watching that one tonight closely. Please don't give me two Brazilians in one group, and we'll be happy.
Oh, man. Okay. We talked a little bit about Champions League in hour number one, but I wanted to lay out and have you have most of it. Sporting with the comeback of comebacks against Bodo Glimt. And that was wild TV to watch. And our voice of the Liga Portugal here on Fubo TV. So you say the end of the Cinderella story, Sporting CP could go all the way, ? Lay it on me.
It was one of those wild nights in the Champions League. We from time to time we have those kind of nights. We got these incredible comebacks in the Champions League, and the 3-0 looked really kind of complicated, not just because of the score that they had to overcome, but because of how good Bodo Glimt was playing, right? But like it usually happens with Cinderellas, it's midnight, and you run out of luck. You run out of luck, and you face insanely focused and insanely effective Sporting club side. So now Sporting will have to face is the Arsenal, right, Johnny? Arsenal?
Yeah, Arsenal.
There's the thing here. I mean, I know I'm a little bit biased, right? I am a little bit biased because it's a Portuguese team, a little bit, right? Let me just dream about it for a minute or two. But in Lisbon, Sporting couldn't beat anyone in the plan. In Lisbon, outside of Lisbon, it's a different story. But if all these stars are aligned that day, Sporting could beat anyone in the planet in Lisbon. That's what I gotta say. So we'll see. And Arsenal hasn't been, the Arsenal. You got all the trust, you got all the power, you leading your group, you're leading in the Premier League, and then something always happens with Arsenal. Something happens. I don't know. It's a curse. What it is, I don't know. But something happens since it's the Arsene Wenger curse. Since he left, nothing been the same for Arsenal. So I think Wenger has to go to their stadium and I don't know, get a shaman or something, get a wizard. I don't know, man. Do something about it to stop with this nonsense with Arsenal in the international competitions and in the Premier League.
I'm gonna keep an eye on this one. They're on the right-hand side, and the draw is Arsenal and Sporting. The winner of that one gets the winner of Barca and Atletico de Madrid, right-hand side of the bracket. PSG and Liverpool. And on the left-hand side, it is Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. That's the left-hand side. Right-hand side, Sporting and Arsenal. The winner of that one gets Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid. That's the right-hand side of the bracket. That's where we're locked into when it comes to the final 8, the round of 8s in the Champions League. So that brings us to the World Cup Chronicles. Before we get into what you're calling this week with Fubo. When victory meets preparation, the Argentina case in Mexico 86.
Mexico 86. Mexico 86. That's that was a fascinating World Cup, man. It was fascinating. But I got a story for you about Argentina in that World Cup. Jenny, do you know? Do you have an idea how early the teams arrive to the World Cup? Like, no, usually a week or two. You know, a week or two. They arrive. They do the hotels. You know, get the training facilities, all that, right? But Carlos Salvador Bilardo, who was probably the most insane coach when it comes to decisions and preparations. He was a freak, man, of studying rivals and everything else. Right? He was an absolute freak, right? And but he also had these crazy ways to do things. And in his mind, because of the altitude in Mexico, and because of if there is a group of players that have had the most trouble with the altitude, are Argentines and Uruguayans. Those guys from the Rio de la Plata, they suffer the most in the altitude. All right. So he didn't go for 1 week or 2 weeks. He went for 50 days. 50 days prior to the beginning of the World Cup. All right. 50. And the media, it was crazy because when he arrived, he and Argentina arrived to Mexico. This is his famous phrase, right? We're the first ones to come here, but we'll be the last ones to leave. And it did happen. But it wasn't a beautiful story. No, it was not a beautiful story, Johnny, because they stay at a place we have no air conditioning. No air conditioner. The bathrooms were the horrible condition. And they were on top of that, Daniel Pasarela and Diego Armando Maradona, you know, the captain of the 1978 World Cup, okay, an absolute legend, and the captain of the 1986 squad. They were not on the same boat. They were not okay. They were not in the same place. But anyway, so the deal is that Pasarela got sick with his stomach sick. What's the word for this, man? When you got I don't know. It's got the name of the disease, Johnny, but it's a disease, right? Who was all right? You cannot play, so he did not play. But he stayed.
Montezuma's revenge, I think, is what it is.
I guess. You know, I mean, Montezuma said, you know what? We're gonna give a chance to the new captain. All right. You're going to give a chance to a 25-year-old superstar from Napoli to lead the way this time. You can sit on the bench and go to the podium more times for the rest of the season. But 50 days, Johnny, man. 50 days. And in that span, they only won, they played how many? I think they played 9 friendlies. And they only won one. One. All right. So there was a lot of criticism on Carlos Bilardo, but in the end, his freakiness paid off because by the time Argentina kicks off the World Cup participation, they were on fire, and they were on fire all the way to win the trophy in 1986 because victory meets preparation.
No doubt about it. Victory meets preparation. So speaking of which. You've done your prep. Who's going to get victories this weekend? What are you calling on Fubo TV, my friend?
You know, this is after I called the last 2 games of Porto. There's absolutely no way that they're gonna drop any more points from now on. You know, they lost during a partition. They were not scary anymore, right? So the rivals were like, okay, we can get points out of you, we can beat you, and they dropped points in the last out of the last five. They dropped points. Dropped points, I think 2 times or 3 times. Okay, not anymore. Not anymore. They're back. Their solidity is back. You know, they have this kid, Johnny. You gotta watch it, man. You gotta watch this kid, Oscar Pitusewski.
Okay.
He's a Polish winger from Porto. The kid is sensational. And it's crazy, right? So they lost the 2 strikers, the starting striker and the backup striker. One of the only is gone, and then look, the John is gone. So Porto's not playing without strikers, and they're playing even better without the strikers. And that's when you say, all right, it's meant to be. It's meant to be. If you score more goals without your strikers than with your strikers, it's meant to be.
Porto is a plus 114. They're the last match of the weekend against Braga. Braga's a plus 250 at home. And right now, the standings, as they are in the Liga Portugal, Porto is 7 points clear. Sporting obviously has a match in hand, so the margin probably is going to be 4.
Right.
Benfica's already played match week 26, and they're at 62 points. And this means, of course, that we have to watch you on Fubo TV, because that's the way we get to once again see and hear the tones of our man in charge of everything Fully Loaded, and have the conversations with him on Fubo TV, back where he belongs, discussing everything Liga Portugal. Love you, my friend. It's great to always see you and catch up with you on these Thursdays where we are Fully Loaded. Be safe, save the pipes, enjoy the Coca-Cola in a bottle, make all the desserts, make us all 10 pounds happier. Gold belly, gold belly, gold belly. We got to
Gold belly. That's the one, man. Thank you, Johnny. See you next week, guys. Appreciate it, man.
There he goes. There's Nino. And we got to get Nino's desserts on Gold Belly. We have to. Because that way we can get him shipped from there, frozen maybe, get him shipped here. See, now what would really be cool is if we figured out a way to ship the desserts frozen up here for like Masters Sunday, April the 12th. Masters Sunday, if we got them shipped up here, because speaking of Gold Belly, we went ahead and dove in and got the big Masters pack where they give you the barbecue and the egg salad and and all of the salad sandwiches that you can get at the Masters. We got that. We're getting that box shipped to the house for Masters Sunday. We're going to have the party. We're going to have a blow up. If we could find a way to ship the desserts from Nino the baker and bring them up here, like I said, probably have to freeze them. Put them in like wrap them in like the frozen bricks. And we ship them overnight for like $9 gazillion on the shipping costs. And they wander in here, FedExed. FedEx guy brings the frozen what's the ice? The dry ice. If you pack it in dry ice, freeze it, pack it in dry ice, ship it, FedEx comes to the door. We all have the desserts for Masters Sunday. That is my goal. We have less than a month to figure this out. Or maybe it's a World Cup thing, or maybe it's both. If we had Nino the baker's desserts during the World Cup, I mean, hey, you've seen what he has on Instagram. He's got the cups. So see, get it, World Cup. Nino makes the World Cup of chocolates. He ships this stuff here, dry ice, frozen. We unveil it whenever. I'd love for it to be Masters Sunday. Like I said, I'm partial. But if we get it for the World Cup and we figure out the logistics and it's like $9,000 to ship it and on a plane and get it from Lima to Miami and from Miami to Atlanta, and we have a big to-do, with Nino the Baker's chocolate desserts. Good Lord. You see the monster that I've created here? This is what I've done. As the Lord is my witness, whichever Lord you hang out with, we will figure this out. We will get Nino the Baker's desserts, the tres leches, all of the chocolate. We're gaining the 10 pounds. I don't care. It's a cheat day. Whatever day we figure this out and get it here, we will revel in the man's chocolate. I probably should add more to that sentence. We will revel in the man's chocolate desserts. We will enjoy them. We will post them on social, and we will sit there and say, this came from Lima, Peru. Can you beat this? And the answer is no. We are going to support our brother in soccer and desserts. Number one in desserts worldwide. He is the worldwide leader in chocolate desserts out of Peru, people. We will find a way, as our lords are our witnesses on this Thursday. We will find a way. I guarantee it. We will find a way to get the desserts from Peru to Atlanta. We will enjoy them in the SDH universe. We will find a way to make this happen. He will become known for shipping desserts from South America and hopping on the big bird and coming north. This is how this is going to be, because you can only taunt people for so long through your Instagram accounts and showing what the walk is in taking those desserts and giving them to stores in Peru. First, it's the Libertadores. Second, it's the United States. Third, it is this planet. Fourth, it is this solar system. That's how excited I am. I'm not properly hydrated and I squeaked. That is what we're getting into. That is our quest. This is like the Adam's Rib episode of MASH. Watch that on YouTube, people. This is when Hawkeye Pierce wanted to get Adam's Ribs out of Chicago. And he figured out a way to make it happen. This is our Adam's Ribs. We are getting the desserts out of Peru, damn it. And they're coming here to the United States. We will find a way. I am. Nix, I haven't even finished my cup of Mountain Dew. I'm that fired up. See that, normally I'm not a chocolate person. I'm really not. Usually once every 90 days, I'll have like a Reese's or something. Maybe a Kit Kat for a drive home. But because of what Nino is doing with we know his first life, with his other life, the other version of Nino, the one where he's styling and profiling and wearing the apron and taking all of his desserts from one place to another in Peru. He is conquering the Libertadores country by country. And it is our duty to help out our friend. And if it means consuming chocolate, then that's what it means. He posted, follow Nino the Baker on Instagram, by the way. Follow Nino the Baker on Instagram. And that's where it comes from. You'll see all the desserts that he makes, and he'll send me photos, and I'm sitting there going, damn, dude. For someone who's not a big chocolate person, and now he's taunting me. He's just still in the green room, and he's taunting me. He is taunting me with stuff. We're going to find out a way to make this happen. We will celebrate Nino the Baker as only we know how, and that is to consume his bakerness. We will consume his desserts. We will find a way to get them from Peru to here. As our separate gods are our separate witnesses, we will make this happen. We are here to support our friends in need, and we are here to support our friends in dessert. We will find a way to make this happen. See, and that's the problem, Nix. We don't know what the tariff levels are. Jason has all of the important questions this morning because shipping is going to be a bitch. But we love what Nino is doing. We're going to figure it out. Alex, if I could anoint folks to sit there and make this happen, like I said, this is evolved into our Adam's ribs. That's what this has done. It has evolved into our Adam's ribs quest, and I'm Hawkeye Pierce. Before we get out of here, I will find the YouTube link to that MASH episode, and I will post it in the Twitch pitch. This is our quest. This is our Adam's ribs, people. Hawkeye wanted Adam's ribs out of Chicago. We want Nino the Baker's desserts out of Lima, Peru. We're going to make this happen. I don't know how yet, but we'll figure it out. I know dry ice is involved. I know tariffs are involved, but we'll figure it out. Man. Crazy. See, now he's got me jonesing for chocolate. I hope he's happy. Like I said, I'm not really a chocolate person. But because of all of these pictures that he posts, this is what we're getting ourselves into. This is where we are with all of this stuff. And so, Niko running a little bit late. Understandable, considering it was a late night last night with Open Cup. He'll be here in a bit. But, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, look, like I said, when we are taunted by desserts, there's only one thing that we can do, and that really is to consume those desserts. That literally is what we must do. We must consume the desserts. We must help our friends. But yeah, go to Nino the Baker on Instagram for those of you, and it is Nino the Baker, all one word, and you'll see what he makes in his spare time when he's not calling matches in Portugal. He does desserts, and you follow him around, and all that kind of stuff. So, that's where we are. And so now I'm jonesing for chocolate. I don't know what kind of chocolate we have in the house, but we will most certainly find out. And so it looks like Dave Johnson's going to be joining us tomorrow at 10:30. And that'll be our Oppo research for getting ready for DC United and Atlanta United. And let's see. So here we go. So hang on. Send a link after the morning show is done. Okay. All right. So Dave Johnson's going to join us at 10:30 tomorrow. So that's what's shaping up. All right. Now, let's go to Seattle. And I don't think that Niko made it to Spokane last night. I don't think he made it to Spokane. You went to Spokane? Oh my God! That's why you're dragging this morning. Okay, it is 42 after the hour, and he's probably on cup number 3. Are you on cup number 3, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, John? Hopefully, I don't have any lag because it's a coincidence that I'm up. This is actually cup number 1. I'm up because my wife, she's the hero today. She saved the show because I got here at 4:30 in the morning. So I have about an hour and a little bit of sleep. And she just happened to say, hey, do you got something going on this morning? And so here I am. Wow. But I am in no sleep. Cup number 1 of coffee, but excited after a huge win for the Sounders in a venue that was extremely interesting. So I'm excited to talk to you, but I want you to run the show as you always do, John. So let me know where you want to start.
Okay, so I'll start with the interesting venue in Spokane last night. Lay that out for us. We know what happened at the end of it all, but what was it like there last night?
It was phenomenal. I might come in okay. I feel a little bit of
it sounds good so far. If you do, then we'll change it up, but you're good so far.
Excellent. Look, the venue was very intimate, and he felt very Thursday night football because apparently this stadium is a high school stadium. Sure, You have the velocity that play there, but in the region, in the city of Spokane, this is used for big high school matchups. It's like the one nice stadium that you go to when there's a big high school game, and so it had that sort of feel. So for the Sounder fan base, it felt a lot like a Starfire game, just a nicer type of Starfire. But it was phenomenal. The people, the crowd was great. We did a pregame show at Flat Stick Pub there in Spokane, and people really came out. There was tons of people. You could see the rave green kind of take over the city. I heard from Paul Rothrock that his sister told him that just about everybody in Spokane had at least two Sounder gear walking around the city. So it was an atmosphere, right? I thought it was great. It was very interesting. But what really came out to shine in this particular game was the sound once again find a way. It wasn't perfect. It hasn't been perfect. I think that Brian Spencer looked annoyed, sounded annoyed about the fact that his team hasn't been able to control games better, control the possession, really be a team that dominates or that it probably the game plan the way he wanted. Because in this particular game,
now it froze. Okay, so there it froze. I will. There we go. Okay, so and this will be where Nico comes up with his alternative form of transportation, and so we're getting into what happened. And so with Seattle winning the two legs, they're waiting on the winner low right of Tigres and FC Cincinnati. Once again, that's 9 o'clock tonight. And Cincinnati is favored. They're up 3-0 after one leg. They're going to Tigres. Tigres obviously is favored in the match tonight, on match night. But it is over the two legs themselves. Right now, it's a 3-0 deficit that they've got to come after. And so I was discussing what's going to be happening after what happened last night. Seattle's now waiting for the winner of Tigres and FC Cincinnati. It's a big roadie for FC Cincinnati, but Tigres has 3 goals to make up for as Seattle waits for the winner of that one.
Yes. And so all in all, aside from the venue and how interesting it felt, and it felt very CONCACAF-ish, I'll tell you right now, it felt very CONCACAF-ish. I thought that the game itself was very good because the Sounders, again, I said, they found a way. The turning point in this game for the Sounders was the substitutions made by Brian Smetzer, and you have to give him credit. The game was a little bit sloppy. Seattle had issues in possession, and it was getting a little bit winded at one point in the game, and Brian Smetzer he kind of touched on it. He mentioned that he expects his starters to run as hard as they can for as long as they can, and I think he maybe indicated that that's not what he saw out of the team necessarily. So he brought in some really good spark plug type of players, but specifically Paul Rothrock. That's his job. He's been doing that from the very beginning with this club, and as soon as he came in, he was the difference maker. But the big story was Peter Kingston. Peter Kingston, it was interesting to see Brian Smetzer trust a guy like Peter Kingston that isn't necessarily a part of the team in terms of not having a first-team contract. He's extremely young, but the kid came in and put in the shift. I mean, he was involved in both of the 2 out of the 3 goals that happened there at the end. The first one is a phenomenal move that he gets out of being pressured by 2 defenders. He gets to the end line, puts in a great cross, and Danny Musovski puts the ball away. So Peter Kingston shines. Paul Rothrock was given the man of the match per CONCACAF, but even Paulie Primetime said, look, I thought Peter should have got it there. So it was very Seattle-like in that there's always these unsung heroes, and the Sounders just know how to develop center midfielders. I mean, we've been talking about Snyder Brunell for, the entirety of the season. And now we're talking about Peter Kingston, another player from the pipeline that is going to come in, perform, and is likely going to get a first team contract.
Crazy that, we're in 45 last night. And so I think he was probably playing at 78 speed, even if he was listed as number 45. So big win on the road. And you move on, and now you wait. You figure out what it's going to look like, if it's going to be Cincinnati or if it's going to be Tigres. Now, with that being what it was last night, your starting lineup, once again, just as a refresher. In net, Stephen Fry, Nuhu, Jackson Reagan, Alex Roldan, and KKR at the back. Brunel and the other Roldan in front of them. 3 midfielders, Ariola Rusnak, Ferreira, and Osaze de Rosario was your starting 11. On the bench, you had Musovski, who scored, Rothrock, who scored, Andrew Thomas. You had Max Anchor, Cody Baker, Georgi Manungu, Nikola Petkovic, Sebastian Gomez, Antino Lopez, who was also signed, and that made news heading into this matchup, and then Peter Kingston. Coming into this weekend with Seattle, how do you think that midweek may or may not even affect the matchup that's going to be going on at Minnesota, 2:30 Sunday afternoon? How different do you think it's going to be?
It's going to look very different in Minnesota. It's going to look a lot like the San Jose game. And if there has been a newfound equation that Brian has been able to put together, and it results in wins, especially road wins, it has been trust in the depth of his team. Look, we talked about how this team had a high floor, how the chemistry and the continuity was going to be important for this team to hit the floor running. And it has absolutely panned out that way. So with a guy like Tino Lopez just getting signed after a phenomenal game against San Jose, with Cody Baker playing as good as he did against San Jose, with obviously, Peter Kingston, who we just talked about, who came in and played about 30, I think you're going to see a lineup that's very close to what we saw against San Jose. Now, this is me thinking in the brain of Brian and kind of going with what we've seen so far, because we've yet to see a training session so far, obviously, after the game last night. But I do think that there's going to be a heavily rotated team to allow this starting 11 to get some rest and continue to put this last part of the roster or the deeper part of the roster to continue to perform, and for Brian and the organization to see what they can get out of a Nikola Petkovic, out of a Georgi Manungu, who didn't play last night. Maybe we'll see Jordan Morris, by the way. Jordan Morris has been in statements by Brian Smetzer that he could potentially get some minutes. And he even mentioned that he could have been part of the Spokane game. Obviously, he wasn't part of the available players for the Spokane game last night. But I do think that Minnesota, we're going to see, or we might be able to see, Jordan Morris at least on the bench. Another player that you're going to see likely, again, we don't know for sure because we haven't been at training facility, is Hassani Dotson. Hassani has been in that concussion protocol. He hasn't been playing. Snyder Brunell put up another great shift last night. So did Christian Roldan. So I think Hassani is another player that you might see as part of that rotation. Brian mentioned last week that Hassani has that Minnesota game in his calendar checked in. I'm sure that he wants to go back to Minnesota and give that team the business if he can help it. So that's how it might look different.
Okay. The rest of CONCACAF, we kind of glossed through in hour number 1 the scores from last night. Nashville ends up 1-1 draw, the away goal making the difference. They advance, drawing Messi and Friends 1-1. Messi and Friends, once again, they just crash out when you have everybody sitting there and looking at, hey, we want to do this. We're bringing in all these players. We want to win titles. We want to be, a hemispheric force. Nashville gets a goal, bumps them out. So Miami's done in CONCACAF. So that means no CONCACAF Champions League, no championship, no Club World Cup, no nothing. You got to wait another year. Then you end up with Club America, 1-1 draw. They were 1-0 on the road. They advance after they knock out Philly. Then you have also late Toluca dropping the hammer in the second half on San Diego FC. 3-2 going in for San Diego FC, 6-3 coming out. Toluca wins at 4-0. Of those other games that happened last night in CONCACAF, what sticks in your head?
It has to be Nashville. I mean, it has to be Miami building this roster, approaching this season with one objective, in my opinion, and it was conquering CONCACAF Champions Cup. And they were unable to do it. Berterame continues to not be able to score with this team. Messi continues to have the heavy load part of the attacking components. This is a team that has struggled to manage the games and handle the pressure. First game was obviously a 0-0 draw. In this one, I thought that Nashville had a lot of moments, but even when Miami scores first, you knew that all you needed out of Nashville was one more goal. And then they get a howler from Nashville, and they're able to put away Miami. So the storyline here and the most interesting thing about it is BJ Callahan finding a way to push his team through, and Inter Miami and Mascherano, who now is under a lot of heat, being unable to do it with all the millions, all of the new players, all of the hype, all of the environment that you have built out of Jorge Mas, aka Jerry Jones of MLS, and the team falls a little bit short. The last thing I want to say about CONCACAF as well, and it's something that we didn't touch on that I think is important for your audience to know, John, is that when you look at the games tonight and think about the Sounders potentially hosting that second leg of the next round, as of last night, no one is committing to where the Sounders are going to play. So you could see another Spokane game, perhaps. There's definitely, we didn't hear confidence from anyone that we tried to talk to that the game was going to be played at Lumen Field. So that's something to watch moving forward when it comes to the Sounders hosting this, the second leg likely of the next round of CONCACAF Cup.
All right. Now, I don't know if you have your hydration there with you for the morning. I don't know if you so yes, hydrate while I set up Major League Soccer for the weekend. Figured you might need that. For the weekend, after we get through Open Cup and everything, you're looking out west. You've got Copa Tejas, which could be very spicy with Dallas and Houston. I'm thinking there's a lot of goals that could be in that one. You've got Austin and LAFC, Vancouver and San Jose. That's on Saturday. We mentioned Seattle at Minnesota on Sunday. LAG, because of their late start in CONCACAF, goes to Portland. San Diego hosting Salt Lake on Sunday. Any games that you want to talk about to start out in particular?
Yeah, I'd say I like a lot of these. I'm interested in the Tejas rivalry more than I would most times because, funny enough, Dallas has been a surprise for me. I didn't think that they were going to be this exciting, and they've been able to manage some games, handle some results, and then draw against arguably the best team in the Western Conference in San Diego, a 3-3 draw that I did not have in my bingo cards. Peter Musa seems to be a guy that's on a heater. They are not an exciting team, but they definitely are effective in what they want to do on the ball. So on the other side, you do have a little bit of an interesting team that is exciting with all the new acquisitions in Houston. So I really like that matchup. I am high on Houston, though, and I think that they will be able to break down the barriers. And actually, I think that they're going to keep a clean sheet against Dallas, and I think that they're going to get this win. So that one's interesting for me. The other one was the Nashville Orlando. I see a lot of people hyped up on the change of managers, but usually that bump is in game one and not game two. So I know that there's going to be a rotated lineup. I know that there's a midweek game that you have to account for Nashville, but I like Nashville. I like Nashville against a purple team. I when it comes to that coach bump, I always look at that second game, and I think that you're going to get a little bit of a reality check there. So I like Nashville as well on that one.
Nashville is a -175. So this is just going to be a game to look at. It's not going to be a game
just to look at.
look and don't touch. Draw is a plus 350. Purple team is a plus 430. You've got in the East, and I'll work my way through the schedule. In the East, you've got the Baby Bulls in Charlotte. And Baby Bulls are a plus 260, by the way, at Charlotte. Charlotte is a plus 114, so they're favored. Copa Tejas, you mentioned. Dallas is favored at a plus 120. Draw is a plus 270. Houston is a plus 220. Now, you said that you think Houston's defense is going to lock FCD down. So let's check our numbers, shall we? In addition to everything else that we like to do. So if you're under 1.5, you're at a plus 333. If you're under 2, it's a plus 229, and then it starts to even out a little bit. 2.5 under is a plus 110, and that's where it flips. If you're into goals, 3.5 over is a plus 165, and then it goes north from there. So there's a little wiggle room if you think that the two keepers are going to show up here in this one, or if you think there's going to be goals. They're setting 3.5 as that number on the plus side. So I think you got folks that are kind of split in their ideas right now.
I think so too, and I don't know if I would take the goals in this one, although I do think that Houston's going to find their mojo defensively against a Dallas team that I think can be streaky regardless of how good Peter Musa is. I have a lot of respect for the way Olsen eliminates certain players, and I think that he is going to do it there in a rivalry game that are always different. People are probably like, Niko, where are you getting this? It's just my gut feeling on a lot of the rivalry games. A lot of times don't follow the same trend as is usually happening, and I just have a gut feeling on this one.
All right, Austin, late night. It is an 8:55, so I'm guessing that's on Big FOX. Austin at Q2, hosting LAFC. Austin is a plus 290. LAFC is even money plus 100 heading into Q2.
How about the goals?
Goals, let's check, because I was looking at this one and I'm going, oh, man, I don't know. I don't know if I want to touch it. But let's check the goals and see what it looks like here early. 2.5 is a minus 118, and that's when the magic happens. 3.5 is a plus 200. So if you're thinking 3-1, 2-2, plus 200. 4 is a plus 4.25. 4.5 is a plus 500. So they're not thinking a whole lot of goals, but they're thinking you could get a decent number scored. 3.5 is a plus 200. I think that's probably where your margin is.
Yeah, look, lock me in for the 3.5 and LAFC.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there has been a lot of, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it unfair criticism, because it is fair to talk about this LAFC team perhaps not putting up as many goals as you're used to seeing LAFC do. But I think that the chance creation has been there. It was there in the MLS action of last weekend. It was there against Alajuelense. But there has been a lack of execution in front of goal. And that doesn't fall on the coach. That falls on the players. If you are missing a clear chance right in front of goal, like Bouanga did early on in the MLS action weekend, and you can't put it away, or against Alajuelense where you put it on the crossbar, that doesn't necessarily go to the tactics. It goes to the execution. But I do think that there has been such a volume that Bouanga, Sonny, and this LAFC team is just a matter of time when they find it. It's not about if, it's when they're going to be able to actually put away those chances. And I think it's going to be against Austin. Unfortunately for El Verde, which, I really, really like Austin, love the fan base. But I do think that in this particular game, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. But I do think the LAFC is going to break that habit of missing opportunities. And I think that they're going to put a really good performance against Austin.
Sunday, Messi and friends go to the 106/68, and they take on NYC. I don't know how mad they're going to be going into this one. They're a plus 200. So they're coming off a loss, or they're coming out of getting bounced out of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. So they're going to be pissed. And then they're going to the 106/68 to take on NYC. They're a plus 200 on the road against NYC, who's a plus 120.
Yeah, that's trap game for me. What's the draw on that?
Plus 275.
Yeah, I like the draw. I like the draw on this one. I think that Javier Mascherano is going to really question himself, and I think that he's going to try to maybe do some things that he believes are going to be good for the team to kind of shake it up a bit. And I think New York is a really good team that manages games pretty well. And they've been a surprise for me as well. I didn't think that they were going to manage Alonso Martinez's absence in the way that they have. I think Nico Fernandez has been better than I thought that he was going to be to start off the season at the very least. So I think this is one that's going to be maybe a 1-1 draw, but I do think that it's going to be even at the end of the game.
All right, then the late night is Sunday Night Soccer. San Diego, who's going to be shell-shocked maybe, mad maybe. They're at home. RSL, who is yet to kind of figure things out on the road. They are a plus 340. San Diego at home at the Murph Dragon is a minus 133. I don't know how to read San Diego in this one. I really don't.
I don't either. I'm curious on how they're going to respond after getting 4-0'd against Toluca. I do think that there's going to be some mandatory rotation for them. And I actually think I'm very high on RSL and some of the things that they do. So to me, this is going to be another draw for the weekend. I like what Real Salt Lake does defensively and putting teams under pressure against the run of play at times. And I do think that they have a lot of great white players that might make it difficult, or it might make it very difficult for San Diego's press to be as effective as it typically is. They're going to be very direct, I think, with the ball, and they're going to try to get behind that back line for San Diego. So for me, this is going to be a draw, but it's going to be an interesting game because I don't know how San Diego will respond to that midweek result.
Plus 300 on the draw. So hang out and keep an ear out. I know. That's what I'm saying. That one kind of came up and bit me a little bit at a plus 300. I was shocked on that one.
What about? I have another lock for you, but you just gotta give me the over on the 3.5, if not 4.5, for the Portland Galaxy game.
Yeah, I figured you might be going there. So let me check that out real quick. Over under 3.5 is a plus 120. 4.5 is a plus 275. So you're at 3.5. You're in the plus. And so 3.5 and higher, you're in the plus on that one, but 3.5 is a plus 120.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go with the 4.5. Let's go with the 4.5. LA Galaxy is another team that has been bitten by some poor execution. But Timbers are such an open team, and they're just so gappy. I'm waiting for Phil Neville to be let go. I don't know what the Timbers are waiting for. Maybe this is way too hot for this early in the morning, but I just haven't seen an improvement from Portland, and they just continue to allow this guy to throw his guys under the bus. And you could, sing church and tell me that that's not what you meant. You were just trying to get them fired up. But when you're calling your team kids and all of this stuff, I think his time is up. And maybe LA Galaxy does it. Maybe it's Greg Vanny that puts enough goals away on that Portland team that finally Phil Neville goes. Because I still don't understand how Oscar Pareja was let go before Phil Neville. I mean, I explain that to me. Make it make sense, John. Make it make sense.
I can't. We played during, and we're going to have Mike Gramajo from West TV in Orlando on with us, bat and lead off tomorrow to talk about it. But on Media Day, and I still have this sound, and I played it after Oscar was dismissed. On Media Day, Oscar was mad about lack of transactions, always needing more players, all this kind of stuff. So he was not looking forward to the season as far back as Media Day and let everybody know it. And if things were that bad, if they were that untenable at the end of the year, I guess, and then after you go through training camp and everything, if things were that, if things were that itchy for him at Media Day, and you bring in the 3 U22s from Brazil, and I get that, and you bring in Griffin Dorsey, and you're bringing in all these players, yet you only want to be patient enough for 3 matches. And yes, I know that I thought he might get tarmacked after losing 5-0 to NYC, but the defense doesn't exist. The defense, there are issues with the defense there in Orlando, and I don't know where it's like if you were that mad, why didn't you do something in the offseason? Because if you're only going to give him 3 matches in the new season with all the new players that he's got, then what's going on? Why only 3? Why not be patient? Why not give him to the international break? Why not give him to the World Cup or whatever? It didn't make sense on a couple of different levels to me. And it's a head scratcher just because if you were that mad, why didn't you get rid of him at the end of last year? But then you have faith in him and he's still not happy. And then you only go 3 matches in 26. So I'm as confused as you are where Oscar Pareja is concerned.
Yeah, and I think he was scapegoated. I really do think that he was kept just in case things didn't go the way that they wanted. They had somebody just put the blame on, and that's what they ended up doing with Oscar. So it does feel out of character. It feels, the timing is just off, and for me, I just can't fathom, and that's why I'm so sure that they're gonna realize where this team really is at. After that first game where everybody was like, oh, it was change of attitude. It's all about, coaching and all these things. Let the season get a little bit longer and then we'll talk some more. Because I do think that this Orlando team is going to have bigger trouble down the road.
All right, what's going on after you take your nap and file everything that you're supposed to file and you've had your other 2 cups of coffee? What's going on Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports?
Yeah, well, I am going to take advantage of me waking up for this show to upload everything that I didn't upload because I left right after the game and made a 5-hour drive down here. And so I did not prioritize putting up the videos, but we got some great videos. We got Craig Weibel talking right before the Spokane game. We have everything after. We talked to Brian Smetzer, Paulie Primetime one. That one was really fun. He talks about being from Spokane, family members that came out, the death of a, family member that happened, and this game kind of coming across at a time where his family could get together, go to a game, and kind of get past that rough moment. So some really, really good ones there. Talked to Christian Roldan about leaving to the March camp and leaving right after the Minnesota game. So that's going to be a good one. So you're going to be able to see those videos on Pulso Sports and our YouTube channel. I also encourage you guys to go take a look at Lobbin Scorchers. We did the pregame show at Pub, I think that's what it is. Well, whatever. Flat Stick Pub. We did it there, so it's gonna be fun. I really recommend you guys watch it. They also had the post game show, and then later on tomorrow. So tomorrow, maybe afternoon, we'll put out what we learned this week, where we'll definitely break down the game that will be in Minnesota. We'll have a much better idea on who's available, who's not available. Some injury updates. Ken Hassani played that game. You do not want to miss what we learned this week with Jeremiah Oshan on Friday. Probably around 6 is when we put it out. And then, of course, on Monday, the kickoff, where we'll talk about the week that was and how the games came around with Ari Lillenwall on Lobbin Scorchers.
And you're going to go get a nap or get 2 more cups of coffee in your system and file everything. As always, thank the boss for jarring you out of your sleep so you could come and join us on your Thursdays as you always do. Love you very much, my friend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Appreciate it, Jen. I wouldn't do it for anybody else sitting here with maybe an hour of sleep. Maybe.
Oh, you're braver than I am. Get your rest. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, there goes Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports Sounder at Heart, and 1 hour of sleep. Thanks to the boss for making sure that happened. That's crazy that he had an hour of sleep. That's wild. Braver man than I am, especially on that 5-hour drive. I would have, honestly, I would have anticipated maybe him joining us from Spokane, from the hotel room. If he joined us from like the parking lot, if he just takes a tour of the pool from wherever he's in, wherever he was in the Palouse, just kind of take a picture. But he joined us from his studio this morning back home. Brave man. All right, so let's get into the rumor mill before we get out of here. And then obviously we've got, and I know this will shock you, in addition to the other news before we get out of here, UEFA is planning to offer a streaming service direct to fans, and that came out this morning. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. But, we got a John Texter update. and it comes from Bloomberg and a couple of other places. And so we're going to keep an eye on that. And then I'll say hi to everybody and answer questions. And then we are done for today. Tomorrow, Mike Gramajo from West TV in Orlando is going to bat leadoff. Then we're going to catch up with our friends from the Marietta Daily Journal, because this afternoon in Marietta, there's going to be a vote on some property that will be, if approved, that will instantly be linked to the NWSL franchise. Team 17, big meeting with Cobb County government this afternoon late. We'll have our friends from the Marietta Daily Journal on at 9:30. Friends from Apple TV at 10. Dave Johnson, DC United, longtime play-by-play legend in the business. He's going to join us at 10:30. We'll talk DC United for Oppo Research. He's got a Wizards conflict, and so he will not be in Atlanta for the game this weekend, but we get our Oppo Research from Dave at 10:30. So rumor mill. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here, and then we will let you know what else is going on. So looks like Thibaut Courtois is set for being out for 6 weeks, and that looks like thigh injury in the win over Manchester City. Replaced by Andre Lunin for the second half of the round of 16 second leg. Vinicius Jr. got a brace in the second half, 5-1 win in the aggregate. So Real Madrid posting a statement following tests carried out today on our player Thibaut Courtois by the Real Madrid Medical Services. He's been diagnosed with a muscle injury in the rectus femoris of his right quadricep. His recovery will be monitored. That came out about 8:30 this morning. And so he will not be there for the derby against Atleti. He will not be around for Bayern Munich's both legs of the Champions League quarters. If it's full 6 weeks, he misses 7 games across all comps. Real's 4 points behind Barca at the top of La Liga. Alvaro Arbeloa will hope that he can have him back in the starting lineup for the Clásico at Camp Nou on May 10. Joan Garcia for Barcelona also got his own injury scare in the win over Newcastle. Had to be replaced by Wojciech Szczesny. Medical tests show no evidence of injury. Should be available for selection against Rayo Vallecano on the weekend. We mentioned the 7-figure deal with Denver and Houston, signing Ryan and Sheehan from the Houston Dash. Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan have now moved over from the Dash for what could be as much as $1.1 million in either Berman bucks or cash headed into the coffers for the Dash. So the Dash is sending Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan, Denver for Berman bucks, and we'll see what happens with that walking through. So transfer gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Looks like Manchester United are in talks to sign Bruno Guimaraes in what could end up being an 80 million euro deal, according to Reuters, although interest from Real Madrid could gazump the whole thing. 4-letter, as previously reported, United focused on adding 2 midfielders. Guimaraes is among potential targets that include Nottingham Forest Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. Sources also told ESPN Brazil Guimaraes has delayed any consideration over his future until after the World Cup. However, according to Reuters now is the one who's saying this. United and Madrid set for a transfer tug-of-war this summer. Real Madrid, PSG, Liverpool, Manchester United keeping close tabs on Ryan from Bournemouth, according to Team Talk. Scouts from the 4 clubs reportedly have been, quote, hugely impressed, end quote, by the 19-year-old. Found form in the Premier League, joining from Vasco da Gama in January as a replacement for Antoine Semenyo. Team Talk reports that a release clause in Ryan's contract will allow him to be signed for a fee in the region of €100 million. Barcelona want to loan Marcus Rashford from Manchester United for a second season. The 4-letter paper reports that they want to avoid meeting the £26 million clause in full to sign him permanently this summer, but they're optimistic that United would sanction a second loan move if it included an obligation to buy, with part of the £26 million fee met in advance. 19 goal contributions in 38 matches, all comps. Chelsea and Spurs interested in Hoffenheim striker Fiznik Aslani from Bild. Both sides believed to be planning to reinforce their forward lines in the summer, and they see him as a strong fit, could face competition from Bayern Munich. Aslani has enjoyed a good a bright campaign in the Bundesliga, 8+5 and 25 appearances, has him linked to Barcelona. Liverpool leading the race to sign Camavinga from Real Madrid, according to Team Talk. Madrid willing to consider offers who want him to join a club in the Champions League if he leaves the Bernabeu. United and Chelsea or reported to have informed Camavinga's reps of their interest in signing him. Previous reports have indicated that an offer in the region of £70 million could be enough to get a deal over the line. Dortmund lining up a move for Jadon Sancho. The Times is reporting confident of landing him. He would need to accept a notable salary reduction for a third spell with Dortmund to become possible. Sancho's existing deal at Old Trafford, believed to be worth in the region of €15 million a year, expected to move on from the club when he returns in the summer from his loan spell at Villa, where he has 1 goal in 29 appearances. Other rumors. Eintracht Frankfurt left back Archie Brown is on the radar of Real Madrid, Barca, Liverpool, and United. Offer worth €60 million would be required to sign him. Florian Plettenberg. PSG and Juve discussing a swap deal involving strikers Randall Colomawani and Jonathan David. Colomawani is going to return from a loan spell at Spurs in the summer. That's from Gazzetta dello Sport. Barca closing in on signing Club Brugge winger Jesse Bisiwu from Diario. Bayern Munich's Michael Olise unlikely to leave the club in the summer despite being linked with Real Madrid. Talk Sport. Napoli have joined the race for Wolves' Joao Gomes, who was recently linked with Liverpool and Manchester United. Nicola Schira. Gazzetta dello Sport has AC Milan set to challenge Juve for the signing of Bayern Munich's Leon Goretzka, prepared to offer him a deal worth €5 million a year. Monaco willing to part ways with midfielder Lamine Camara amid interest from Newcastle. Inter Milan have identified Sassuolo's Tariq Muharemovic and Udinese's Umar Soleil as future depth replacements for Bastoni at center back, who's been linked to Barca, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Celtic could face difficulty in the pursuit of Plymouth Argyle striker Laurent Tolai, with the League One side wanting to hold on to him. And Pep Guardiola is going to take time to consider his future after the League Cup final against Arsenal on Sunday. That's from the 4-letter paper. Now, the John Texter update. Yep, it exists. It does exist. So here's the deal. Article in Bloomberg. And the article in Bloomberg from this morning, before we came on the air. Lyon facing a $63 million legal claim to pay back debt linked to the transfer of Igor Jesus, putting him once again under the magnifying glass. And then there are other reports that are there in Brazil where the layout has been given this way. Botafogo sells Igor Jesus to Lyon for €35 million. Transfer was blocked by the regulators in France. Texter took the contract, got the cash up front, according to sources. Now, Fund now has the right to collect from Lyon with interest and fees. Now Lyon owes about €43 million, fines and interest pushing 60 for a player who never even played there. Player was resold after that to Nottingham Forest. Nobody knows the exact amount because remember the relationships that we had with Evangelinos Marinakis and Texter. O Globo reported it at £22 million. Sources in France saying it was 17. England, they even mentioned £14 million. And so you don't know what the figure is. And so did the money end up with Botafogo? So where did the first $35 million go? Where did the sale money from Forest go? Because there are still issues, I believe, with Danilo. And then you wonder what the latest is there. So keep an eye on the Bloomberg article. Once again, Lyon facing a $63 million legal claim to pay back debt linked to the transfer of Igor Jesus. And that came from David Hellier and Irene Perez Garcia this morning on Bloomberg. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right. Let me say hi to everybody and see if there's any questions that are left on board. So I'll go from the top. I will go from the top. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. Morning, Alex. And let's see. So, and yes, I do need to catch up with Kevin. I do need to schedule with Kevin. Let's see. So there's Abby, and there's Nick's. Good morning, and morning, David. And see, now that would be nice if they could just roll around. David wanted to know if the SOD group up at Michigan State, they're like, yeah, can we go and check and see what's going on over at Augusta National? Let's see. So. Morning, Nix. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Bart. Then it is, let's see. And yeah, the idea of tariffs from Peru. It's insane. Morning, James and Eno. Jamesinho. There we go. And so morning, James Eno, and morning, Abby, and morning, Ricky. So good morning to all of you folks. So once again, tomorrow, Tomorrow, here's the deal. It is going to be Mike Gramajo, West TV in Orlando, talking about Oscar Pereja coming up at 9:05. 9:30, we're going to find out about the meeting in Cobb County, about property that is possibly tied to Team 17. We'll find out what's going on there at 9:30. 10 o'clock, our friends from Apple. 10:30, Dave Johnson, the voice of DC United, is going to do Oppo research for us. We'll get you ready for the weekend. And then tomorrow afternoon, Jason and I are heading out to Cedartown, Dalton and Cedartown doubleheader. I think it's 5 and 7, might be 5:30 and 7:30. Just keep an eye out for your local listings on all your saved platforms. And it'll be Friday Night Football at Doc Ayers in Cedartown. So it's another go round of SDH AM. Thanks for hanging out with us for 2 hours and 20 minutes because there's a lot to get into. Thanks to Niko Moreno, who woke up on an hour's sleep. Thanks to Nino Torres, who battled all of the wireless demons in Peru. And thanks to Dr. Trey Rogers from Michigan State about all the grass that we're going to be seeing coming up here in the cup that the world's chasing after in about 90 days. It's another go-round of SDH AM. Enjoy. You'll hear an interview later on this afternoon from Scott Wells, head coach of Asheville City, after their win over Greenville in the Open Cup last night. More Open Cup tonight, more CONCACAF tonight, Europa League, Conference League later today. Enjoy it. We all will too. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. See you at 9:05 tomorrow morning for a Friday.